Hello adventurers and welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to be here and today we're going to do something a little bit fun. We're actually going to cook up a meal while we answer some of your questions. Now this is going to be a super fun video because not only am I going to share a recipe with you guys, but also I'm going to share some of the things that you guys have been just really curious about. Some of them are van related, some of them are travel related, some of them are me related. There's a little bit of everything in here, so I can't wait, but it's time for us to get started. So let's take off these sunglasses and get to work. For this first question before we start cooking, I have two questions that kind of go hand in hand, and those are, what states have I been to and how many states have I been to? Now, a lot of people count their states based on how many that they've gone in their physical van, but I've gone to a lot more states than that. You just haven't seen them on the channel, but I've gone and I've traveled through them with other jobs that I've had, and so I count those in my personal count. So I have been to Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, Utah, Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, also Montana, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. I think that gets me everything on this side of Texas. I think I'm only missing North Dakota, in fact, in this direction now. Now on the other side, however, it gets a little bit more interesting. I have been to Missouri, Arkansas, I've been to Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, both Kentucky and Tennessee, Illinois, Maryland, DC, which technically isn't a state but totally should count as something, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina. I feel like I'm missing something. Definitely have to be missing Georgia. I'm missing Georgia. Now, I have not been to West Virginia. I haven't been to South Carolina, so I know that I'm needing to work on those. And then there's a little bit in this like northern section that I am missing out on. So I think that's all of them. I might have missed something, but I'm pretty sure that that's it. Let me think. Have I been to anything else? I don't know, but I hope that's helpful. I've been to a ton of places, and along the way, I have enjoyed each and every one of them. It has been absolutely awesome to be able to travel the way that I have and to see as many things as I can. And of course, now that I have the channel, I try to share as many of those with you guys. Now, with that said, I'm gonna get out the air fryer so we can start a little recipe.
My next question that I was asked actually involves the air fryer itself. They said, what brand is this air fryer? And it is the Elite Gourmet. It is available on Amazon, and I have loved this thing. It's so great. It's small but mighty, and one of the things that I think is best about it is I can store these little guys in it so I can make things, and I can use it with or without this little grate. So it makes it available for me to be able to make a lot of different dishes. So if you're the person who asked that, thank you so much for asking. I think that if you're interested in it, you should definitely try it out, either for a small apartment or for your van journey.
Now this next question is a really great one. Someone asked if I have a hiking goal for 2025, and I kind of do. I normally don't discuss my hiking goals on the channel because I know not everybody's into hiking, and I definitely never want to alienate anybody into thinking that they have to do the same things I'm doing. However, I do always set personal goals for myself at the beginning of the year. I don't consider them to be resolutions because they are things I will accomplish. A resolution is different than a goal. A goal is something you work toward every single day. A resolution is this blanket thing that you're like, ooh, I would love to do this. And so there's a huge difference between the two. So at the beginning of the year, I just simply told myself I want to go on more hikes, point blank period. I want to be more active this year. A lot of the reason why I stopped being quite as active with my hiking was because I was struggling with my lung capacity. A long time ago, whenever the pandemic started, I ended up getting super sick, and because of that, I had a very limited lung capacity, so I went from hiking tons to not being able to hike hardly at all. And I'm finally getting to a place where I feel like I can do that again, and so I've decided that even though I'm not going to be completely outdoorsy, I can definitely be outside, meaning that if I see smaller hikes, I will definitely try to take them. If I see a walk that is a manageable amount, I will try it, and each time that I do that, I will increase my goal and get closer and closer to the overall idea of just feeling good outside in nature with myself. And I think that that's the bigger thing. It shouldn't necessarily always be about a number. It should be about what you think that you can logically do for yourself. And I can definitely be more active. So I'm excited about the potential of more hikes in 2025. Now let's get a little bit closer to getting this recipe started, and then I will start on the next question. Today we're going to start off with these little tiny things that you can find at all the grocery stores. This is the brand Stonefire, and these are just the regular naans. You can also get a garlic naan round for this, and I like these because they are individually sized. And so these are perfect for the air fryer because they fit right inside and give you enough room so the air can move around and really cook in everything. So I'm going to be placing one of these on the liner, and then that's going to be the base for our recipe today. We're going to be making a flatbread that has chicken and pesto and feta on it. It's going to be delightful. And then we're going to add a little bit of spinach to that so that we can have some veggies in there because spinach is so good for us. So starting off with our first layer, we got to put down the naan. So this should just open right on up. I can pull it out and right in the middle it goes. Next up, I'll be using some of my tomato and ricotta pesto. I picked this up at Aldi. It's just delightful, has a really good flavor, and I'm just going to do a small layer of this onto the actual piece of naan. So the best way to do this is just open up the jar and look at that deliciousness. And then I'm going to use my morsel and scoop out about this much. That should be plenty right there. And then I'll just apply that to my naan and spread it around really well so it has a nice top coat all across the naan. Super simple, delicious air fryer dish. Something a little bit different, a little bit more healthy than the pizzas that I've made before. A lot of flavor. There we go. Now this next question is a little interesting because you asked this before and then I have shared some things since which might conflict with it. Someone asked me, why is it whenever I have auto trouble, I don't really discuss any of the moving parts of that other than from an educational standpoint. And to some extent, I recently just did that a little bit differently, but I had a reason. And if you didn't see the video where I blew my tire, definitely go back and check it out. One of the reasons why I don't discuss how much something costs on the channel if it is a vehicle related incident, unless it's from an educational standpoint, is because it is not everyone else's problem that I decided to come onto the road. I'm just gonna be very frank and honest. I chose to be on the road and travel the way that I am. However, you guys chose to only watch. I never would ask for you guys to pay for in any way, shape, or form my auto maintenance just because that's not your responsibility. Especially if you guys are out there, you need to be spending that money toward your goals. And I think that that's very important to me. It's been one of my principles since the beginning. More recently, I did speak on my tire, and the only reason I did that was to put into perspective how much something costs so that people would understand that unless you have that emergency fund, it could put you in some type of way if you end up on the road in a situation like I did. At no point in time do I ever expect anyone on the internet to ever want to like divvy out money to me. I think that that's a little bit strange. There's a difference between somebody who is inspired by a video and wants to do what's called an internet tip, which would be like a super chat or becoming a patron to get extra content. There's a little bit of a different vibe there, but if I have an issue on the road, that's my responsibility. If I can't handle that responsibility, I shouldn't be sharing it on the internet. And that's a personal thing. Other people might handle it differently, but that's always been the perspective that I've had since I started the channel. If I needed to sit home longer to work behind the scenes so I could make money whenever I first started out before I could go out, that's what I did. I never said that I wanted to have the internet ever pay for my adventures because my goal is to be there for you guys, and you guys are there in the form of support when it comes to comments and likes on the channel, and that means the world to me. And so I don't need anything else, and I appreciate it when people do go above and beyond and say, hey, let me buy your coffee or something, but it's never necessary. It's just like the products that I share on the channel. I don't expect everyone to go out and buy them just so I can make a commission. I would rather put out the information so it can be honest and real, and when I'm having real life issues such as the power station that's been kind of wonky, I would rather you guys know about that before you spend your hard-earned money on something versus buying something just because I got it and me be like, ooh, look at this new shiny thing, only for it not to work for you guys. Integrity means a lot to me, and honesty. So without those two things, I think that we're pretty much in a bad type of way. So I would rather hold that integrity and then just do the educational things. And again, I know that might not be how every creator is. So if that is not how other creators you watch are, it's okay. That is their choice. This is mine. Appreciate you for this question. Now with that, it is time to add some little baby spinach to the top of our flatbread. And before I do, I need to go wash this, so I'll be right back. Until I get back though, check out my campsite. This place is awesome. I love this place so much, and the sun is getting to a point where it's just perfect. It's that golden hour. So I'll be washing some spinach while you guys take a look around. Okay, now it's time to layer some spinach on top of our flatbread. And I'm just going to cover it really well. So it should be at least 6 or 8 little pieces. to look about like that. And since I'm finished with the spinach, we can put that up and close it up really well and move on to our next question, which is, where was my favorite place that I traveled in 2024? And it was coupled with another question of, how are the kitties at home? The feral cats that I take care of at my house are doing well. My parents keep me updated as I travel so that I can know what's going on. And as of right now, they said all is well. Now, of course, they are feral, so whenever I come back, some of them may not be there anymore. I don't know. Some of them may have repopulated. I'm also not sure about that. I always just try to be a good person when it comes to the feral cats because, you know, they kind of rely on the kindness of us because there's nothing else there other than like the bugs and the rodents. And so they pick up on those, but I also make sure they have water, and I also make sure that they have other things. And thanks to my dad who created little structures for them, they've had structures to stay safe during the winter times. So I'm really appreciative of that. Now to the other question, where was my favorite place I traveled in 2024? I would have to say whenever I traveled up to Montana and went to Glacier, it was my favorite absolute stop of the year because it was something new, but it was also something absolutely spectacular. I had never been there before, and going there for the first time and getting up to the big visitors center where I hiked up, it was incredible. It was like I was in a different country altogether. You would never know unless you go that the places around our country are so brilliant and amazing. And sometimes even seeing them in person, it feels as though you're sitting in a postcard. And so going to Glacier National Park was definitely my highlight of 2024. Now, were there a lot of really great other places that I went to? Absolutely. Did I love every single moment of it? Yeah, I did. But at the same time, I would have to say that was my rock star memory. And it just, oh, I want to go back. I want to go back and do more now. Next up, we're going to put some tomato basil feta on top of this and a little bit of grilled chicken. I just went ahead and picked this up to make this a little easier today, but grilled chicken, you can either do this at camp on your own or you can purchase it in a container like this just to make it easier for you too. I always try really hard to pick things that have lots of ways that you could make them so that whenever I share them, everyone who's watching the channel has the accessibility to make these things in one way or the other. Now, not everyone's going to have an air fryer, and that's okay because you don't have to have an air fryer to do this. You could do this in your camp stove. You could do this even on a regular, oh my goodness, maybe I'm gonna open this. You could do this even on your propane stove inside of a regular skillet and just kind of close it off so it can get warm. That's all you have to do. I'm gonna work on this and then we'll add these things because why is it so hard? Figured it out, watch. Yeah. It's a squeeze. Never would have thought this was popcorn chicken, but cool. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this and put it on top, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with the feta. And while I'm working on this, I guess we could talk about the next thing that you guys asked me. Would I ever do a TED Talk? I don't know what anybody would want to hear from me in regards to a TED Talk, but if I was ever given the opportunity to do one, best believe that is an honor. I would definitely think about it. I have lots of different lives that I've lived and lots of interesting things that I've done, and so I could probably put together a pretty interesting one. At the same time, I don't know who would actually want to listen to me talk about stuff like that. So would I do it? Yeah, sure. Is it ever going to be an offer? Probably not. But it also goes along with the next question that I had. If I can figure out how to close this, it's almost harder to close than it is to open. So that question was, would I ever write a book about all the things that I've done? And funny enough, I actually have been encouraged by a few friends lately to write a book. Now, is that actually going to become a thing? I don't know. We'll see. I have lots of interesting things that I could share, but again, figuring out what subject matter I would like to talk about, that's the hard part. And so would I want to talk about van life? Would I want to talk about travel? Would I want to talk about how travel's changed my life? I just don't know. And then I have this whole other side life before this happened that's also quite unique and interesting. So what would I talk about? You guys have feedback? Leave it in the comments below. I'd love to know what you would like to hear about because, you know, it's not a no, but it's more so a I don't know. A little feta goes a long way. So we're just gonna sprinkle some feta on top so it can get melty and delicious and seep into everything. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of building a little stack and some of it's going off to the side. I'm gonna have to correct that just a little. There we go, that looks good. Now this next question is a really good one. Someone asked, what did I learn in 2024 that I'm taking with me into 2025 and beyond? And I think there were a lot of interesting lessons from 2024. I think part of the lessons that I learned learned, of course, were based on circumstances that had happened. I've spoken before about how I basically didn't see anybody for almost a year unless I would do a little offshoot, and how it really modified how I prepare for safety, and then also how I don't post in real time. And those things are things that kind of carried over from the end of 2023 into 2024. But the one thing that I will say more than anything in 2024 that I learned was that life is definitely not promised. I, of course, learned that lesson a little bit more so whenever a friend of mine passed away, and it really put everybody who knew him in this tailspin of just not really knowing what to think or do. And one of the things that collectively we all took away was that we want to live like Rocky. And Rocky is an amazing human that I've spoken about here on the channel before. I'm so sad that the world did not get to meet Rocky. And so I want to make sure that I am a reflection of the same positivity in the outdoors that he was. So that was a lesson that I took very personally, and I've been using ever since. I made it a point to, after that, be proactive in seeing the people I hadn't seen in a while, which is what is inspiring 2025 to be my year of reconnecting with friends. I took that time to say, okay, I might not be a super outdoorsy person, even though I live outside, but I am the person who is going to always be seeking out adventure, activity, and knowledge, and I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep digging in and keep digging in, because you never know what impact that you have on others. And the one thing that I learned from all of that was that life has to be lived in a way you respect it, you love it, and you leave no crumbs. And so that is something 2024 definitely instilled in me. Now, in the past, again, I've spoken about other people that I've known who've passed, and it was really tragic, and I felt as though there was this sadness that came from that really inspired me to wake up every day and realize the appreciation for life. But last year taught me not only that appreciation for life is something that I need, but the go. That's something that it just told me, okay, I'm on track. I'm doing the things I need to do because these are the things that I want to do. And if I don't have time on this planet to do all of them, then I'm going to do as many of them as I possibly can, which led me to challenge myself in many ways in 2024 and will continue to challenge me in 2025. So I hope that's helpful. It's not the happy, upbeat thing that we all like to look forward to here on the channel, but it's the reality. We want to make sure that we're considering those things and living and not leaving anything to the wayside, because more and more frequently we're seeing that is the case with so many people. And so with that, I'm going to put my food in now, and we're going to move on to something more positive. Okay, into the air fryer it goes. And I'm going to set my temp for about 325. We're going to plug it into the power station, and I'll answer another question before we get it going. Okay, I have it plugged into the all power, and then I just need to set the timer. So I'm going to set it for about 8 minutes. Now, this next question is one that I've had many people ask, because you guys are trying to figure out, like, where are you in real time? I'm never going to post in real time, guys, unless it's a live, in which case I'm going to be in a safe location when I do that. Because of that, my buffer kind of varies from place to place. I may be a couple days out, I may be a week out, I could be a month out, depending on how I shoot my content and my schedule. I make sure that I am always away from an area when I post the video. So if I know I'm going to be coming back to that area several times, I'm going to delay that as far as I can so I can be in that area and move safely. Now, I do this again because of the situation that happened last year. I feel like all solo travelers, period, male or female, should consider this, because in today's climate, you never know if someone is serious or if they're just a keyboard warrior. You need to consider your safety always first. Now, whenever I am doing things that are seasonal, I do try to put them at the time of the season so it makes a little bit more sense. Now, sometimes it does get a little bit off if I'm going back to that place. However, for the most part, I try to keep consistent with my shooting schedule so that I make sure that safety is always the first priority. So there's never one true answer to this. It's never 2 days, a week, a month, never. But I am always letting you guys know about the most up-to-date information in that area whenever I'm there. So I always try to put that into perspective. I also try to make sure that if there are any kind of world events that happen that might modify something, that I go ahead and pull the video until it is back to a place where it is established and available. So for example, if something is shut down temporarily, I try to at least either give you a heads up on the community tab of, hey, I filmed this before it closed. You can go there next season. Or I try try to make sure that I just pull the video all together so it's not really super confusing. Just always know that if I'm going to a place and I'm recommending it, it is because it is an evergreen location that I want you guys to visit. So I hope that's helpful, even if it's not the answer you were looking for. This one is kind of funny, and I understand why the question exists, but at the same time, it's kind of funny because I think you'll understand. Let's get to it. The question comes from one of our longtime subscribers, in fact, one of the first subscribers to my channel, and he asks, are you just gonna go sit in the desert like everybody else, or are you gonna still do stuff? I understand this question, and I'm not offended by it whatsoever, because a lot of people during the winter months do go and just kind of hang out and go from event to event to event and just camp. And they don't necessarily get involved with as many activities, or they don't show their activities because they're showing them camping with friends. As for my videos, I think you can already see I am still going. And so even though I did spend about a week and a half to 2 weeks just kind of hanging out with friends, the storyline of what I'm doing is constantly in motion. I'm constantly seeking out new brain wrinkles, activities, and adventures even in those spaces, so that it doesn't just feel like we're just there in the moment doing nothing. I completely understand though, as a go girly, I do not enjoy personally watching a lot of things that are just like stagnant or sitting still, because that's not my personal kind of content to consume or to produce. However, there's nothing wrong with those things, so if you do enjoy those, again, there's nothing personally wrong. I know lots of people who love to just camp, and I thoroughly enjoy catching up with them. I just know that whenever I'm camping with them, that more than likely means that we're only going to camp for a little while, and then I'm going to go about and do my own thing. And that's okay. The world would be weird if we were all the same, and so it takes all kinds. And even though I know where this question comes from, to answer your question, no, I'm not just gonna sit still, but I will be showing a lot of things, as you can see, from the desertous region, just because there's lots of cool stuff to do here, and why not get out and do it, especially when it's all these free attractions. So yeah, I see you over there asking that question. Power update. We're currently pulling about 689 watts, and we've gone down about 8% on this battery. It's starting to smell good and almost finished, so I am excited. We have time for one more question before this. Now, somebody asked me, is it hard to film daily videos? How much time during the day do I usually end up spending filming, editing, etc.? Do I use a script, or am I a natural speaker? If I were to use a script, you guys would be very unhappy with me, I guarantee it, because it wouldn't be organic, it wouldn't be natural. I prefer just to talk to you guys as though we are chatting in person. So I never use a script. A lot of people also think that I do a ton of research before I go to activities, and there are a few here and there that I will look into a little bit, but for the most part, I like to learn what you guys could learn if you were to go there and share it with you in that moment. So I will spend a little bit of time just looking around, I'll retain that, and I'll share it with you. And then I'll go on to the next place and I'll share that with you. And we just keep going that way. It's a more organic and natural way of being and living. It's something that I have always enjoyed doing. I appreciate also that the comment said it seemed like I was a natural speaker, and this is just kind of me. Even whenever I was a kiddo, I would narrate my life to my Barbies or to my playthings, and it's just been kind of who I am, and so it's one of those things that comes very natural to me. Now, again, this isn't something that is going to come natural to everybody, and so there's nothing wrong with that if you do use a script. However, I personally do not. Now, how much time do I spend filming in a day? It also depends. If I am shooting my day in the life, I'll show you pieces of my life throughout the day, and that might encompass half of my day overall filming, or it might encompass that I'm filming 3/4 of my day sometimes, then chopping it down in the edit to a much more manageable package. I do film a lot. However, sometimes I use it and sometimes I don't. But my goal is always to create something that you guys like, and I'm hoping that through the daily videos, it's just something that gives you a little something to motivate you daily. Ooh, we're about to get to eat. But my goal with doing the daily videos and motivating you daily is to say, hey, you don't have it all together on a single day, and that's okay. You can work at it piece by piece by piece, because the journey isn't something that you build up to and then, oh, it's there. It's something that you continually build up to even after you are there. And so by sharing the weird stuff, the battery issues, the crazy weather, all of that, it makes it where you guys can see the bigger picture as opposed to the glossy images that appear on like Instagram or through the aesthetic videos. Aesthetic is fine. Aesthetic is pretty. I love a good aesthetic moment. But I also try to do the day in the lives, and that's what brought us to the daily videos, so that you could see more of what my chaotic day really does look like. Because I think a lot of people, whenever they look at videos across the internet, there's two major kinds of videos that people have. They have the day in the life, or they have the aesthetic. Now, I realize there's also educational content, but the two major categories for van life are aesthetic or day in the life, and sometimes aesthetic overlaps with day in the life. But sometimes in doing so, we don't actually see what really happens. And I don't think there's a lot of people who honestly move as as quickly as I do who document their life in such a chaotic way, because most people want to have a really refined image. I don't care if it looks refined. I want it to be what actually happens. So I never get tired of doing what I do, and it really helps me to just power through and keep going, because I know at the end of the day, even if I have a weird day, a strange day, a good day, a bad day, that at the end of the day, it's beneficial to you guys because it does have the full encompassing picture. Now, do I expect everybody to move like me? Absolutely not. However, I hope that by seeing how I move, you guys can see that there is something out there for every single style of person. From the places that we go, to the hikes that we take, to the food that we eat, there is something for everyone within the van lifestyle, and you don't have to do it one way. Whenever I first started out tent camping, there wasn't this huge discussion about, oh, you have to do it this way. But when I got into the van, everybody seemed to be very jaded toward a specific image of how you should do that. And that simply just does not work for my life. My life runs very differently than most, and I wouldn't expect that I'm the only person out there who is like that. So I wanted to share those things so that others could see that it's okay if you're a little quirky or weird, and if you want to run around like a chicken with your head cut off, or you want to move fast, or you want to move slow, you can do all of those things. And so I never get tired of what I do, but I appreciate this question because this question was well thought and had a lot of details that I wish more creators would answer, because realistically, I think that we could all learn from one another, and I think that's the greatest part of YouTube. It's a great educational resource. With that said, ooh, yummy, yummy, yummy. It's about to be in my tummy.
This looks delightful. It's so perfect. And now it's time to put it on a plate and get to eating.
So while I'm putting this on a plate, let's talk about this last question. This question's a really great one because it's a very, very introspective question. What has travel taught me about myself that I might not always talk about here on the channel? Something that's super personal to me. And I think that travel has taught me that I'm strong beyond measure. I am much more than what I put myself into the mindset of being whenever I first started out. When I first started out, I had camped as a kid with my family, and that's about it. I had never had to do anything on my own when it came to my navigating, like far distances, then finding a campsite, then setting up. I never had to worry about any of those things, and that first little bit of tent camping taught me a lot of things, and one of them was that I could do a lot more than I ever thought I was capable of. But the other thing was that I shouldn't doubt myself. If I'm in a situation and I feel like it's an ick, I should get out of there. I should trust my gut. If I meet people and I feel like they're safe, I should definitely investigate further. But if I feel like they're not safe, I should get up out of Dodge. And I think that that's one of the things that we do as people is we put ourselves in the box of whatever we're in at that moment. When I lived in Dallas, I had a very different life than I do now, and because of that, my challenges were very, very different. Now that I'm on the road, I have to be much more independent. I don't have the things I can fall back on as comfort because they're just not there. So learning from the road, it has taught me that I have to be fiercely independent. I have to keep my head on a swivel, and I have to always look out for number one, which is myself. No one is here to do that for me. But with that, even though it is a challenge, it also provides me with this great opportunity to realize that all the things that I doubted about myself whenever I first started out, they've gone out the window. I can do a lot of stuff. A lot of things that probably would have never thought that I could do before I started this. And I still talk to my friends from back home, and I'm sure that they're going, oh my gosh, wow, what is going on? But at the same time, it's inspiring to see how after being on the road for as long as I have been, those conversations and how the narrative has shifted away from, okay, this is weird, to, oh, this is really cool and you're doing this. And it's because of the confidence that comes from within, because I no longer doubt myself. I know that I can do things. I can go into pretty much any situation and come out with a smile on my face and laugh. And that says a lot, because I've always been a super positive person, but I've been a person who has allowed myself to rely on others in some cases, and now I don't have to. I can do anything. And that is probably pretty scary to some people, to think that there are whole groups of people out there who could live independently. I can have my own solar power by just setting out panels, and I can go with that solar just about anywhere. I can find water in pretty much any city. I can find places to dump trash. I can find campsites. I can find places that I feel safe. If all comes to all, I can find those spaces in an emergency. I know how to make sure that I have a fire that's going to be a good fire for the night, but also I know the importance of drowning it out, which I would have never known before because it wasn't something we talked about. I know that my definition of who I am is no longer defined by where I'm going, who I'm hanging out with, or what I wear whenever I'm there. Instead, I can wear scrubby clothes in the desert and not really care, because I don't have to worry about what other people think, because I am confident in myself. Now, do I still like to get dressed up? Yes, I do. Does that define me? No. And that is a powerful place to be in. So I think that that is the bigger picture of what traveling has taught me. It has taught me that I can do so much, and that everyone can if they give themselves a chance. But with that, I am gonna dig in and see how this is. Oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be really good. It is a perfect way to have something absolutely delightful. And I can make this into like a sandwich by doing another one, or I can just eat it like this. Oh my goodness. I dropped a piece of chicken, but oh my goodness. We're gonna be eating good in the hood tonight. The hood, of course, being my beautiful campsite. And yeah, remember, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. I'm gonna finish this up. I hope you enjoyed coming along for the Q&A. I certainly enjoyed sharing it with you. Nom nom nom.